Good morning. Welcome to Chaos Makers Hobby House. If you're new here, I'm Alexandra. I garden in coastal South Carolina, Zone 8B, on just about 1/6 of an acre. So, small backyard garden, and I want to show you what I do with my garden. So, welcome to the third garden tour of 2025. We are nearing the very end of May. Just had a bunch of rain yesterday, so everything's so green and lush and beautiful, and I want to show you around. It's been just about 3 weeks since my last garden tour, and a lot has changed, so let me show you the before. So this is the garden, or the main garden, 3 weeks ago, and this is it today. This time of year, everything grows so fast, you blink, and it's completely different. Things grow multiple inches per day. Because it was raining all day yesterday, I didn't get in and do much of a harvest, so I figured I would just grab things while we chatted. Oh, I love this part. This is my pole bean tunnel. I have two different types, Kentucky Wonder pole beans here, and Lochilde purple pole beans on this side, and they have not just grown all the way to the top. They've met, intertangled, and created a wonderful little shady area that is full of beans. These just started producing maybe about a week ago, but they are now loaded down. You may not be able to see them, may be hard to notice, but they're there. The Lochilde beans are a little bit easier to notice because they are purple. Very, very dark purple. Now, the Kentucky Wonder pole beans have just started producing, and they are under a lot of stress from Japanese beetles right now. So they're not heavy producing, but here before too long, when the Japanese beetles have moved on and the plant can bounce back a little bit, you can probably see some of these leaves are real tattered. I'll give you a close-up here in a minute. For some reason, Japanese beetles love the Kentucky Wonder pole beans, but they don't touch the Lochilde pole beans. I don't know why, but I'm not mad about it. Not bad, considering they only started producing a week ago. See all that tattering? Yeah, that's all Japanese beetles. And nothing works against them. I have the traps, and it does lure them in, but they still go after what they please, and right now it's my beans. I also heard that geraniums, they're supposed to absolutely love geraniums, and the flower temporarily paralyzes them. So they would fall off, maybe fall into a tray of water, and, dispose of them, feed them to my chickens. But so far I haven't seen a single Japanese beetle even show remote interest in this geranium I hung, so that seems to be a myth. I think that's it for the Blauhide purple pole beans, but I mean, those are beautiful. And they stay tender. Oh, that's a pretty sight. Now, I've been getting bush beans before this, but this is really just the first week that pole beans have started. Little helpful hint: if you grow pole beans on a trellis, make it something that you can access from both sides, because they sure do like to hide out on the side that's not hanging in your walking space. Moving on, I did harvest all my garlic, so it's a pretty naked looking bed, minus a couple random things growing in here. What should I put in here? Should I try to do a second round of corn? It gets a little tricky with the pest pressure later in the season. Maybe should I throw some more watermelon seeds in there, or succession sow some squash? Squash is doing great so far, so I don't feel the need to succession sow. And I'm going to be having some more open space come up here soon once I get all the potatoes out of the ground. What do I want to plant there? You got any suggestions? I do have a couple squash plants hiding behind my pole bean arch. Well, this one's going to go straight up. That one will probably wind through here eventually, through the empty bed. And one of my watermelons is big enough to start winding. And these are the bush beans. We got Purple TP, Blue Lake, Red Swan, and Contender. And they're starting to peter out. Unlike pole beans, bush beans don't produce all season. They are a quick to set flowers and start growing your beans. But then they put the flush on all at once, and once they're done, they're done. They're not going to continue to flower all season, or maybe they might put on 1 or 2 flowers at a time. But it's more or less you get one big harvest haul over the course of like a month, and then they're done for the season. So I usually plant bush beans while I'm waiting for my pole beans to mature, because bush beans are a lot faster to mature. So that way I get beans while I wait. Yeah, that's all I'm getting right now. Far cry from how much I was getting off of them even just a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. But like I said, they're on their way out. I don't even think the red swans are producing at all anymore, so those will probably be pulled soon. I could do another patch of bush beans in the empty bed, but I'm gonna be so overrun with Bahilde pole beans and Kentucky Wonder pole beans that I really don't need more beans. As fun it is to grow all the different varieties, and my pole beans are going to be producing pounds daily very soon, so maybe more beans is not what I need. And the bush beans, these come out. I do have some squash back there that will probably take over this bed, and I will put maybe some more succession sowing squash there. Oh, it's such a relief. This is my cucamelon. I put in so many seedlings and the birds ate every single one of them. And then the flea beetles got to the rest. So we finally have one that is strong enough to start growing. So hopefully we'll have some good cucamelons here soon. This is another bed that I had some garlic in. All that's been pulled. There's just some random potatoes right there right now. And my favorite melon, the Ananas de Amérique melon. Now, goal is here is to have these plants climbing this little arch that I put in because it is a smaller melon. There's another plant right here, so they can be trellised. And that is a volunteer sunflower that I'm just letting do its thing because I'm really curious what kind it'll be. It's really healthy. Another one, pretty sure that one's growing through the fence from the neighbor's yard. Then we've got a yellow crookneck squash over here that I will allow to just spread through here. So if you've been following along, I'm growing my squash 2 ways. I am growing 2 plants of each variety, minimum. I am trellising one up a pole, so it'll be grown vertically. And then the other plant of the same variety, I am letting sprawl on the ground to see what works better with the pest pressure, with the squash vine borers specifically. Because I've heard growing vertically makes it so the squash vine borers aren't a problem. I don't understand how that is, considering that is a moth that flies around and lays her eggs on the underside of the leaf stem or on the base of the stem of the plant, and then the egg hatches into the larva that burrows into your plant. So I guess the theory is that the stem, when grown upright, becomes a lot thicker, a lot more dense and woody, so it's too hard for the larva to get through. But I've still been pulling off plenty of eggs from the underside of all these leaves. I have dug out a few squash vine borers that I noticed damage on the leaf before it got to the main stem, so I was able to prevent it from getting to the main stem. But I guess growing vertically does make it easier to see problems before they become a problem. They allow you to see every part of the plant a lot easier. So that's a benefit. Oh, what is that I see? That's a female watermelon bloom. So much like squash and cucumbers, watermelon have both male and female flowers. Male flowers do not produce the fruit. Male flowers have just a plain old stem behind them. Female flowers, the ones that do produce a fruit, have what looks like a mini watermelon behind them. So just to help it out, because I saw it, I'm here, it takes 2 seconds. I just, hard to do one-handed, spread the pollen from the male flower onto the female flower to help pollinate it, in case, you know, the bee was feeling a little lazy. See all that good pollen in there? Hopefully she'll grow into a beautiful watermelon. Oh, a good example of a female squash flower has the squash as the stem. And with squash, the stamen in the middle looks a little different. So we've got a 3-pronged stamen versus a male flower, which doesn't have the fruit behind it and only has a single-pronged stamen. So you can hand pollinate these too. If you're finding that your squash is rotting at the bottom or just rotting and falling off before it gets big enough to pick, it's a pollination issue, most likely. Means the bees didn't do their job and pollinate your squash. So sometimes you just need to lend a helping hand. So let me take you. Peel back some leaves. And hand pollinate. I grabbed another flower off camera because I didn't pull that one back very well, but yep, just brush all the pollen from the male stamen to the female stamen. But while I'm here, might as well grab the Zephyr zucchini. On a lot of my harvest videos, I get people asking, what kind of squash was that? What kind of squash was that? That white flat one. This is a patty pan squash. This one's specifically the Pattison white patty pan or scallop squash. They go by both names. It is a summer squash. All summer squash kind of can be eaten like a zucchini. So zucchini is a summer squash. Zucchini is a summer squash. Patty pan, summer squash. Yellow crookneck is a summer squash. It's all the same genus and very similarly flavored. Some of them will be a little seedier than others. Some of them will get a little bigger before they become tough and seedy. I like the scallop squash because they are fast growing, fast to produce. Like this right here is not harvest size. Harvest size, it's about the size of my hand. And this will be there in another day or two. And they have been outperforming every squash for me for years now, so I do love to keep them in the garden. You can cook them just like zucchini, like any other summer squash. You can dice them up and saute them as a side. You can cut them open and stuff them full of delicious things for stuffed squash. You can use them just about any way you would use zucchini or other summer squash. I even make zucchini bread. It's summer squash bread with whatever squash I happen to have on hand. But yeah, that is the Pattison's white scallop squash or patty pan squash. And patty pans come in a variety of colors. This one is a golden Marbe patty pan. I've seen them come in green, orange, yellow, white, all sorts of different colors, multicolored, really, really dark green, one that looked like a green pumpkin. But this one stays a little bit smaller before it starts to get woody compared to the Pattison white, so I do prefer the Pattison white, but this one's just so pretty. Of course, I don't have any good sized ones to show you right now. Well, looks like soon we might be finding out what Senor Mystery Pepper is. Just a volunteer pepper said, let it go, because I had horrible pepper problems this year trying to start my seeds. So, we'll see together, I guess. While the Brussels sprouts look amazing, still slow growing. I have yet to really get successful Brussels sprouts in South Carolina. And now we're starting to get caterpillars. Yep, lovely. Ew. But it just, our seasons go from winter to 95 degrees seemingly a week. So it's just not enough cool weather for these to develop. But I try every year. Let's see, the lychee tomato, this vicious little beastie, is loaded with fruit. Nothing is ripening yet. Lychee tomato is a nightshade. It makes small little cherry tomatoes, but they don't taste necessarily like tomatoes. They taste like tomatoes, but with something else, like kind of a cherry sweetness flavor to it. But the thing is covered in thorns. Every inch of it is covered in thorns. Stem, leaves, even the fruit casings. It is a vicious little plant. They are not tiny thorns, but it's not frost tender. This thing survived entire winter. I planted this last spring. It survived through snow, which South Carolina never gets. Well, at least where I am in South Carolina, never gets. And it's grown back great this year. It's actually doing even better in its second year. So if you're looking for something that's not going to die back in the winter, not going to be quite as sensitive as regular tomatoes, but still has that little bit of tomato pop, this might be it. Just be prepared. They can be very invasive. If you leave fruit to fall and just grow on its own, it'll go crazy. They are considered a pest plant in a lot of places, an invasive nuisance plant. So just be prepared to have to tackle this thorny devil a few times. This is the jalapeno that I broke down and purchased from the store because my peppers were doing sad things, but you have some peppers on here. I did pull one already, and yes, it tastes just like a jalapeno with zero spice. It was fabulous. Another bout of potatoes that's gonna have to come out here soon-ish. I've had a few die back on me already, so I've pulled the plants. And there's a few more that look kind of tragic. There's some more over here. But I was dealing with some pests on these. I'm not sure how they'll do. Getting tall quick. This is another type of zucchini. This is a Golden Delight zucchini. Oh, golden fruits. More zucchini. Finally, my tomatoes that I started from seed are starting to look like tomato plants and blooming. You can just kind of shake the flower a little bit and it will help to pollinate it because they are self-pollinating. They just need a little bit of agitation for the pollen to drop down. But yeah, they're finally growing and looking like tomato plants. Thank goodness. Because it was a rough start there for a minute. So my tomatoes might be a little bit behind, but they will get here. Even that itty bitty teeny tiny one that was just merely existing is getting bigger. Now this, it still looks itty bitty teeny tiny, but this is a very compact tomato variety. It's only gonna get maybe a foot and a half tall, 2 feet tops. So this is not uncommon. That's healthy. Ooh, beautiful basil. Now, to promote your basil to get bigger and bushier, you want to clip off the tops. Or else it may just think, oh, I'm going to get super tall, go to flower, and yeah, some basils do change flavor when they go to flower. So, if you clip off the tops, you find a spot that has leaves breaking off of either side. So, here's a good example. See where it's kind of like raising its arms with leaves on either side? That's a perfect spot to pinch the top. You pinch the top right there, it will promote the plant to branch in either direction. So make it grow 2 stalks out of the sides instead of 1 stalk straight up. So even if you don't plan on using your basil right that minute, pinch the tops. It'll make it a nice bigger, bushier plant in the long run. You can bring these inside and use them at your leisure, or make tea out of them, or just throw them back in the garden to add to soil health. Oh my gosh. Fresh basil is one of my favorite smells. Okay, moving on. Bikenho pepper. This is one that I actually started late last year and left in a pot in my garage all winter. That's fruiting. It's another really compact pepper variety. This will get really bushy, really wide, but not very tall. Banana pepper back there, finally catching up a little bit. And the New Mex Easter pepper. Everything's starting to look like it's supposed to look for nightshades. Still a little behind, but thankfully we have a long growing season, so they have plenty of time to catch up. And then the one that I bought from the store just to ensure I got some sort of tomato. It was a Mr. Stripey, and we do get a tomato on there. No signs of blushing yet. Strawberries, they're trying. They're not doing too much. I had some major strawberry issues last year, so basically restarted this year. And the plants are just trying to get established, so we're not getting too much for fruit off of them. And we're also nearing the end of the season for fruiting. So I don't really expect too much off of this, but Japanese beetles have also been getting to my strawberries. 'Tis the season. Ooh, mealybugs. Hold on. There we go. Mealybugs no more. Then, and there's a strawberry hiding in there. Come here. Hello, beautiful. I've been dealing with some mealybugs lately on random plants, and I'm just taking my little handheld torch, butane torch, and scorching them off. It's a fabulous thing to have in the garden, because as long as you don't leave it on the plant for very long, you can pretty much knock any pest off and don't have to worry about grabbing it or finding a soapy container to drop it in. Starting to get a little bit more tart towards the end of their season, but they're still delicious. Now for a dramatic change. The smaller garden bed that has my corn and loofah and stuff in it. Let me show you 3 weeks ago. This was 3 weeks ago. And this is now. Holy corn! You know, they say knee-high by 4th of July. I'm thinking that's more for northern areas and not so much southern growers like myself, because it's more like ready to produce the week before June. We're tasseling and got silks. Let's see, is she... Oh, it's still early enough. You can kind of see it. So if you're growing a small amount of corn like I am, they're wind pollinated. So these are the tassels. These are what drop the pollen. Frilly things at the top. The pollen has to land on every... Get out of here. Get out of here, leave. Pollen has to land on every single one of these hairs that pops out of the top of the corn in order to pollinate it. Every single one of these hairs attaches to a single kernel of corn. If the hair doesn't get pollen on it, that kernel doesn't develop and you have spotty corn. They're wind pollinated, and if it's really windy, it can blow the pollen right over the fence. Right over beyond yonder, completely miss the bottom. If you have a small amount of corn, it can also miss its goal. So in the mornings, I'd say, depending on your area, while it's still somewhat cool out, but, you know, it's starting to warm up for the day, you can actually come out here and give them a little shake. I suggest doing this on a calm day or leaning your stalk over to where you're trying to direct the pollen. And you just Give it a little shake. Not sure how well it shows up on camera, but there's a whole bunch of little dust that falls off, and that's your pollen. Here, let's see if you can see it on my watch. Hold on. See all that speckling on my watch face? It doesn't really want to focus, but that is the pollen from the corn. And I'm just kind of leaning it and shaking it. Some say cut the tassels off and rub it on the silks of the corn, but if you cut the tassels, oh, there's a good cloud. If you cut the tassels off, then there won't be anything left to pollinate later. So the entire tassel doesn't open all at once. Only small portions of it opens. Ooh. You see all that dust coming off? Maybe. You certainly see it on my hand. You can also do that. Grab some on your hand and just go find some silks to run your fingers through their hair. There you go. But yeah, if you cut the tassels off, then the next day there will be less tassels or no tassels to pollinate the rest of the corn, because it takes multiple days to pollinate every hair. Not every hair is showing on day one. So best bet is kind of get some pollen on your hands and rub it on the hairs, or my favorite part is just shake them. Direct and shake. Okay, moving on to how much this corn has grown and exploded. Hold on one more second. She tall. I'm 5'6". Granted, the garden bed is probably about 6 inches. So that means these are tall. And then on the trellis, we have some small watermelons, the sugar baby watermelons that are small enough to actually climb a trellis and have their fruit dangle. And we've got some early fruit. Quite excited about this. Oh, I can't wait. Just, if you've been following along for any amount of time, you may know that I struggle with watermelons. I can grow them. They just never get to the full size that they're supposed to. So that's my goal. My goal this year is to have successful full-size watermelon. Oh, hello. You are large and in charge. Anything going on up there? Did you see anything? Is it about to bloom? I can't see the top. That's a sunflower. That one was planted on purpose. And then one of the loofahs. All the way at the top there. And oh. That's going to be a female flower. Similar to squash and cucumbers. Puts the fruit right behind the flower when it's a female flower. Sweet potatoes gone in. And once the corn is out, it's going to take over this whole bed. Set additional roots wherever the vine makes contact with the soil. And on those additional roots, we'll make sweet potatoes. Last year was a very sad sweet potato year because I had a mole that was tunneling through and disrupting all of the roots and killing the plants. Hopefully that's not an issue this year. I did put hardware cloth on the bottom of this bed to stop the mole from being able to get in, but it found a way. I've been finding mole tunnels in here. It's actually uprooted this watermelon more than once. And I have to routinely check and make sure it's still firmly planted, because one day I just come out here and it's all wilty and sad. But yeah, so I'm not getting my hopes up quite yet. We'll see what happens. Oh, it looks like the winterberry, wintergreen, is starting to put on berries. So it's just these little, tiny little flowers for quite a while, and they're so cute. They're like little bells. But once those are pollinated, now we got little berries. A lot of them on here. I'll go more in depth about this when they get a bit more mature. And amazingly, the artichoke that was in Plant Hospital because some unfortunate guy having a bad day stomped on it and broke it off of its roots is doing really, really well. I haven't put it in the ground yet. I'm not confident yet that it can handle a shock of that amount. I really want it to grow some replacement really strong roots because parts of it still kind of struggle when it gets real warm. So we're just gonna keep it in its little hospital pot for a while, out of direct sunlight, see how she does before putting it in the ground. Moving on to the fruit trees and berries. Dorman red raspberries are beginning to produce. Not a whole lot yet. They just started, but I'm getting the odd berry here and there. Kim, thank you. I mean, just look at that color. If I could only grow one thing, it'd be raspberries. To buy them in the store is so expensive, and they grow so prolifically. They are my favorite fruit. Ooh, the dwarf persimmon is starting to flower. I love these little flowers. I don't know why, but they make me think of parachute pants. This one's almost completely open, not quite. Now, the dwarf persimmon only produces fruit about the size of a golf ball, maybe a little bit bigger. So I do have a full-size persimmon, but something happened to it. It didn't do well in the freeze. And I think spider mites got to it, and it completely died back to the ground. But it is resprouting from the ground. There you go. Sad little stick. But it's got all sorts of new growth at the base. That's the great thing about persimmon trees. They are resilient, and they'll come back. It just unfortunately means I won't be getting fruit for a minute. Did make this little island here connecting to my fruit trees. I had a potted blueberry bush that I put in the ground here. It's got some small berries on it, but they're not really going to do anything. I honestly should just pull them off, but I can't really get myself to do that. Let it get established in the ground. But I wanted to show you. This year we're getting persimmons. Come on, focus. Oh, look at how cute. I did go through and thin out the fruit quite a bit already. I may have to do that more. Still a relatively young tree, so I don't want to overburden it. It'll end up just dropping a lot of them anyway, so I'm keeping a close eye on it. No major change with the mandarin tree. Our harsh winter really did a number on it, so no fruit. It's just working on regrowing leaves. It lost almost all of its leaves, and I had to do massive pruning on it. Like, it used to be about 4 or 5 foot taller, but it just, our ridiculous winter really did a number on it. But it survived. That's all that matters. It'll fruit next year. I also expanded my flower bed, so that's gonna slowly fill in. It looks a little bit bare right now. All the flowers are pretty small and puny, but they'll all fill in, and I'm hoping this will be a beautiful pollinator central. See the original flowers that I had in here. They're showing off. It's echinacea coneflower. Those things are impossible to kill, I swear. My poor little cherry tree. I had to give it some accessories because the Japanese beetles would tear it to shreds. And it is still entirely too small and young to handle being completely defoliated by the Japanese beetles. That could potentially kill it. So we're just covering up the leaves until the Japanese beetles move on. But goodness, that's pretty. Got a couple little sunflowers blooming. And look at the color of this gladiolus. Man, absolutely Stunning. I really wish that gladiolus weren't so short-lived. Unfortunately, they're one of those things, they bloom, are beautiful like a week or two, and then they're done. But I will just take it all in for as long as I can. Finally got my potted fig planted. Get those things off there. Got a tiny, teeny little baby fig. He's doing really well. I'm so glad I got that in the ground. It's been on my to-do list for so long, I just haven't gotten around to it because my to-do list is long. And these two blueberry plants, these tiny little things that are just not thriving over here, once they are done fruiting, they're going to get moved up into that island with the two trees and that other blueberry bush, where they'll get a bit more sun. This is a pink variety. It's pink lemonade, so the berries ripen to pink. That one and the other one are a blue variety. I can't remember the name of. Blue Jay, something like that. But we've got some good fruit on here. Nothing ripe for me to pick today. Soon though. And then last but not least is the Ann's Golden Raspberries. Thank you. They are struggling a little bit this year. They're not nearly as large or abundant as they were. I think we lost a few canes due to the extreme weather and moles, and honestly, I'm not sure. But there's still plenty of canes left, and there's plenty more growing. I just don't know if we're going to get much for fruit this year, other than the odd berry here and there. But that's okay. Maybe she just needs a year off. I'll still take my berry snacks where I can get them. Still cheaper than buying in the store. Oh, how lovely! Oh, my plumeria is blooming. This is a tropical Hawaiian flower. And it is too tropical for my area, so I keep it in a pot and bring it in the garage in winter. But man, I love it. And it smells absolutely incredible. Soon, this will just be loaded with blooms. So, like all those little spiky things, even little green nubbies, those are flower blooms. Bunch more. So this thing will just have a canopy of beautiful pink blooms. And I love it so much. Oh, can you see her up there? It's kind of a ways. There's a barn swallow. Has a nest of babies up there. Every year in the same spot. We try to knock it down before she lays eggs in it, but then she just magically builds it again overnight and then there's eggs in it. I don't have a problem with barn swallows. I just don't necessarily want them nesting over the front door of my house. And not to mention their nests will eventually cause damage to the wood there. Plan on repainting my house here in the near future, so we may put something up there to block access, just so they don't do damage to the fascia and soffit. Ooh, it's bright. But until then, they get to nest another year. Well, that about covers everything. And thank you for joining on today's garden tour. And it's a little bit late. I usually try to do them every 2 weeks, but you know, life happens. If you have any questions, let me know, and I will see you next time. Happy gardening. Bye.